Welcome to If You Can't Take the Heat. And if you can't take the heat, you should probably exit right now. As always, boy Josh Rodriguez is here. My boy. My homie. How you doing, Josh?
Great, Jordan.
Thank you for coming. A little dap. Josh, give me something that's happened to you this week.
Well, me personally, I was excited to see the Bulls win last night, so...
Hey, okay. Surprised you haven't given that to me yet, beating my Heat. But first things first, we'll go in order. We left off the last podcast with the Heat trailing the Raptors, and they were defeated 96-87, that score was. And overall, we just couldn't break away when DeMar DeRozan, I believe he had 36, so we just couldn't get a score to break away like DeMar DeRozan was, should I say. Disappointing game, so we're not going to keep talking about that. Although, just as disappointing, loss to the Oklahoma City Thunder. And update, DeMar DeRozan had 34. Fact check. Oklahoma City Thunder, Enes Kanter had 24, and I guess Whiteside couldn't stop him, the interior presence. But they lost by 12 to the Thunder. That's not good when James Johnson's leading the team in scoring. He's going to have to score a lot more, too. You told me Dragic was injured.
Yeah, for next game.
What's up? What happened to him?
Ankle.
Ankle? Okay, ankle, yep. James Johnson led the team in scoring. Whiteside only had 5 points. They can't have that if they're going to be winning games. I believe it was Chuck, good old Chuck, Charles Barkley last night. He said it perfectly, not last night, but against the Bulls. Yeah, Whiteside's going to have to be more dominant if the Heat are going to be successful. And then you were pretty happy about this next one. Last night, that was last night, took a tough loss to the Chicago Bulls. That was 98-95, and I was actually watching most of that game, and we started off well. I believe we had like a 12-0 run, and then we kind of just blew it. I don't know. What do you think did it for us, like, just overall?
To be honest with you, I kind of feel like a lot of three-pointers were kind of just chucked up. But from what I was seeing, Josh Richardson, his specialty is shooting the three, but him, Winslow, were all just firing up from deep, and I kind of just feel like they should have tried to get more to the basket. It was ultimately a close game at the end. Like, they were tied until they got into the fourth quarter, but I guess the Bulls at the end of the day were the better team. Going into American Airlines with a W.
Yeah, the Heat, they did shoot a lot of threes that night. They shot 27, which that's a decent amount, but they shot like 44%. It's what you want, but I agree, they are chucking them up, but that's kind of what we do. Just going down the line, Whiteside had 20 and 20, and the 3 blocks, of course, but Whiteside was a force inside. Tyler Johnson actually grabbed 8 rebounds, and I've been saying this, we don't have a second big man to really get those rebounds. Winslow is only having 5 rebounds. He's going to need to do more of that. And Waiters and Winslow led the team in assists. Dragic actually out with an ankle injury, like you said, and he played a lot fewer minutes last night. I think that might have had something to do with it.
Yeah, and you talk about big men. The Heat only went 4 deep that last game, and Willie Reed only played 11 minutes. So I just feel like I know that Derek Williams was out and McRoberts, but I just feel like the front court depth is really important if the Heat try and plan on winning more games.
Yeah, true. At 2-5 right now, if it's like this going into the trade deadline, I'm curious to see whether the Heat are going to be takers or makers, making some deals to get some picks. But We're not going to worry about that yet. Even though the standings are not very positive for Heat fans, we're tied for 4th. That's last in the conference with who's down there with us? The Wizards, Washington. They're actually on a winning streak, so I mean we might have to look out for the Wizards. The lowly Magic, they're ahead of us at 3-5, and then Atlanta and Charlotte, both 6-win teams, but Charlotte tied for the league in record, I believe, with the Cavs, 6-1.
Yep.
Charlotte's playing well. They beat the Pacers and the Jazz, our 2 sleeper teams. 122-100 and 104-98. The Hornets, they're kind of just beating teams overall. You know, they have a balanced scoring attack. And when Jeremy Lamb comes back too, that's going to be pretty rough for teams. But they still haven't played any of the big opponents yet. Playing the Raptors right now, and they are losing 58-44. But really the only team I would say here that should be giving them a challenge at this record is the Celtics, and that's the only team that beat them. So I think they're about as good as their record shows, honestly. I think they could keep going. What do we got?
Speaking of the Celtics, they're also playing. Horford was supposed to come back today off of 2 weeks with a concussion, and Jay Crowder's been out. So they've lost 2 of their starting 5 the past couple games. But Jaylen Brown, he's been playing decently. But with those 2 out, Isaiah Thomas and Avery Bradley have really stepped up for the past couple of games for them.
Yeah, that's a pretty tough situation for them to be in. But back to back to some other NBA current events we're going to go to. Steph Curry has had himself a wild week. It was the Lakers. The Lakers broke his record of straight threes. That was shocking. I was watching that game, and they were just clanking everything. Steph was missing wide open shots that he usually makes.
Yeah, and last year when they played them, the Warriors played the Lakers in Los Angeles. Steph only made 1 3, so it'd be cool to see if the Lakers might have his number when they play each other. But I definitely could see Steph figuring it out next time they play the Lakers again. Another person who hasn't really shook out of it is Klay Thompson.
Thompson, yeah, he's as the 4th option on the team. He's a great player. Don't get me wrong, but I think a trade might be in the making. I think it should be, honestly. There are things they could use besides a shooter. How about that Anthony Davis trade? That would be ridiculous. And I mean, it's not that unreasonable.
You're right. It's not that. It's possible.
Would Klay do it?
I would like to see if Klay does something to change up his game, because last year he also had a slow start. It wasn't as bad as this year, but then again, this year he has to take on a new role. So he's not getting the shot. He doesn't put up as many shots as he used to get his stroke back. But
we'll see what happens with the Warriors. Staying in California, the Clippers are emerging as one of the best teams in the NBA. I've been obviously watching sports, and there are some commentators who are saying that they're better than the Warriors, better than other teams. They're actually 7-1. That's the best record in the NBA. So they're tied for 1 loss. They're no undefeated teams though. I believe the Clippers are in there too, and they're playing really well. Obviously behind Griffin and Chris Paul. Griffin's averaging 20 a game almost. Chris Paul's averaging 8 assists a game, and that's a really strong front court and backcourt duo. But they also have DeAndre Jordan, obviously, playing those big minutes, getting rebounds, and if they can keep doing what they're doing, they could be scary. We could have 3 good California teams.
Yeah. I agree with you. Way big improvement from last year, and their depth too. They picked up Brandon Bass and Spates over the summer.
More money.
JJ Redick hasn't gotten any worse. Still shooting 41% from deep. So I agree with you. We'll see what the Clippers do this year.
I think they're definitely a playoff team. That's for sure. No question about that. They're actually beating the Warriors in the division right now. So in the Pacific, all those California teams, and then Phoenix, who is not there, even being beat by Sacramento. Another team that's doing well, we were talking about the Lakers and Sacramento right here while we're here. The Lakers beat the Kings last night in a huge comeback, and they're 5-4 right now. Did you see the Lakers having a winning record at this point in the year? It's almost 10 games in.
I didn't see them having a winning record, but I definitely saw Julius Randle and D'Angelo Russell having better games, because I feel like Luke Walton knows how to utilize them better as opposed to what Byron Scott was doing. And I just feel like young team overall. Brandon Ingram's playing significant minutes off the bench. He's having a good year. I like Larry Nance as well.
Larry Nance. You were raving about Larry Nance. Now, this is an outrageous statement I would like you to defend, please. Larry Nance is the most important player on the Lakers.
Yes, I do think that.
Just tell why.
I just feel like what he does. I don't feel like his numbers show what he does on the court. I just feel like he's in every. He does everything. He plays really good defense. He's always going for boards. Extremely important with the pick and roll game. I just feel like without him, there wouldn't be a player to do all the dirty work on the team, and he's really important with Lou Williams and D'Angelo Russell in the pick and roll.
True. They have a lot of guard play, too. What happened to Jordan Clarkson after last year? He was. I thought he was going to emerge as the team leader, but Russell's really stepping up. He's not as much. He does some pick and roll, but he can create his own shot. So can Williams. But him and Clarkson, they can all create their own shot, honestly. That's another reason. I think the pick and roll, it's good. Setting the picks in general, but I think the pick and roll, honestly, I think that's dead now. I don't. That being said, with Larry Nance, they do run that pick and roll. They're going to be successful if Nance is indeed that good. He's only averaging about 7 and 5 a game, but he's not playing as many minutes as he probably could be. Lakers actually have a very even distribution of minutes. They have 9 players playing over 20 minutes a game, so it's an even distribution.
Yeah, and I would like to see what Luke Walton does with Brandon Ingram to see if he starts to ease him into the starting lineup a bit, because he's playing 4 less minutes than Luol Deng, but they're averaging about the same amount of points. Their efficiencies are about the same, but if, like you said, they are 5-4, no one expected them to have a plus 500 record. So we'll see if Brandon Ingram, if Luke Walton keeps what he's doing or tries to give Brandon Ingram more minutes.
Yeah, imagine having a front court or a back court. I'm sorry, I always get them confused. It's like, call them guards and big men like they do in the All-Star game. Which let me tell you, that is a ripoff. That they're just like, yeah, just pick 3 forwards. We don't need a center. That is egregious, and I think it'll be great having Anthony Davis and DeMarcus Cousins. All-Star. Pelicans, they're in East, West? I suck at the divisions. West? Oh, get them both in the All-Star game. You have the power now. Give me 2 centers in the All-Star game. Okay, I'm sorry. That's a little personal vendetta. We're going to stay away from the Warriors because that's great. We just talked about 2 California teams and no Warriors. That's a change. We'll go to the bad. Speaking of Anthony Davis, I was talking about last week. He's going to want to trade, and they got their first win. Do you think now he'll stay?
I think it's still the same scenario. 2 teams I could see him going to are the Clippers and the Bulls. I could see the Clippers probably trading like JJ Redick, DeAndre Jordan, some draft picks. I could see them keeping Blake Griffin in the team if they were to make a trade for Blake Griffin.
A Blake Griffin, Anthony Davis pick and roll.
That'd be interesting, or that would be interesting.
That would be crazy. That would just imagine. That's great. I haven't even thought of that. That would be amazing having Chris Paul, Anthony Davis on the pick and roll, having Blake Griffin cutting from the baseline, other baseline in for like a lob. Wow, that would be very interesting. And who's your second team you could see him going to?
The Bulls.
The Bulls.
Yeah, the Bulls. Maybe like Mirotic and Gibson and Denzel Valentine, and like I said, for draft picks.
That would be a lot, but with Wade, I would agree. The Bulls are trying to win now.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely some interesting takes, but Anthony Davis overall, I feel sorry for him.
Speaking of the Clippers and trade acquisitions, I could also see Melo trying to go over there because he needs to win. He's not going to win in New York, as shown by their record. I feel like if the Clippers made a move for him, he could be another scorer that they need. The way Carmelo plays, though, he's more of an iso ball player, and I feel like if he wanted to win with the Clippers, he has to become more of a team player. I feel like he can make that transition easily, but it would just be a different play style for him. And not being the best player on the team for once in his career, he might be like after Chris Paul and Blake, but he'd still start obviously at forward, and that would, if you think about it, that'd be a really dirty team. But
that would be crazy, actually. If they could keep, they couldn't keep. No way they'd keep DeAndre. No way they'd keep DeAndre. They'd probably have to get another center, I think, which might be difficult. I don't think Griffin can play center. I don't think he's big enough.
No, but they have Spates, and Spates is averaging 11 points a game off the bench. And we saw what he did with the Warriors, so I think he could be a decent starting center in the league.
Spates. Ooh, Mo Money. There you go. Maurice Spates' biggest fan, Josh Rodriguez. Update on the rest of the NBA real quick. We got Indiana and Philadelphia. Indiana's up 54 at the time. Cleveland and Washington are tied, so see how that turns out. Utah and Orlando are tied, or are very close to tied. And Boston are beating the Knicks, the lowly Knicks. That's what's going on around the NBA. And before we head out, Miami has a game coming up tomorrow against Utah, and let's talk about that a little bit. Utah's 5-4. They're one of our sleeper teams for the year, and I don't know if this is going to be another win. That could easily be another loss for the Heat, which would bring them to 2-6 and possibly put them in last place. Do you see them pulling out a win, Miami, or do you think Utah's got this in the bag?
I think Utah's got this in the bag. Gordon Hayward just came back this week and made his presence felt, averaging 26 a game. Like you were talking about earlier, you're a huge George Hill fan. Once he got to the team, he's playing well too.
Love that acquisition.
Yeah, yep.
20-5. He's averaging a game. The new emergence of Rodney Hood, he's averaging 18 a game. That's going to be huge. And the Miami, though, good defensive team, so I can see them pulling it out. It'll all be up to Winslow to stop Hayward. That'll probably be the difference tomorrow night. And the Whiteside versus Gobert matchup. Those are two things to look for tomorrow. And who is going to guard George Hill? Who's going to be our point guard counterpart when Dragic is out? You got to think, do you keep Johnson off the bench or bring him into the starting lineup?
I think you have to bring him into the starting lineup and then use Dion off the bench for the backup point guard because he's, like you were talking about in the preseason, he led the team in assists in the preseason, and he's been passing the ball pretty well this season as well. So.
Okay, yeah. Well, that is the outlook for tonight. So I'll chalk that one up as a loss, unfortunately. Very pessimistic Heat fan. Pretty easy to do this year. And that's all I got tonight. Josh, thank you. Thank you for coming. As always, like to do this at the end of the episode.
Thanks for having me, Jordan.
And it's getting pretty spicy in here, you know? Pretty spicy. And if you can't take the heat, get out of my podcast.